Hello, my friends. This is Pastor Troy Cunningham here today, and I want to talk about a subject that I really hesitate to talk about. I really don't want to talk about it because I don't feel like it's really my place to be here to police anyone or anything. And if you'd seen a video I put out, I think I took it down now, but several months ago about the INFJ police. I'm not here to be a policeman. I'm not here to try to expose any particular person online, whether they're doing videos or making comments on forums or whatever. But I do want to talk today about some wolves in INFJ clothing. And the more I'm online, the more I realize that there are several of these people out here that are pretenders. Now, I'm not here to retype them. I'm not here to say, oh, they're a ISFP, they're an INFT, or INTJ, or ENTP, or I'm not here to retype anyone, okay? So please don't misunderstand me. But as I've been online, even watching other videos of quote-unquote INFJs, I'm seeing some people slipping in among us that are trying to pretend, I guess, to be INFJ, but there seems to be, I don't know, some ulterior motive. I don't know if these people are looking for an INFJ to be in a romantic relationship with them, if they're looking for a business partner, if they're looking for someone to just take advantage of. But as many of you know, if you're really a true INFJ, you know that we do tend to get on the receiving end of a lot of toxic junk. We tend to be the people that these toxic individuals gravitate to so they can take advantage of us. So what better place to hide and try to find empathetic people than to, join an INFJ forum or come online and pretend to be an INFJ and wear the clothing, I guess, if you want to call it that, the garb, try to learn the lingo. And these people are pretty good at mirroring us for a time. But I want to just share some things I've noticed. Even in some videos I've watched different INFJs. I just want to give you a heads up on what to look for. If you're really concerned that maybe this person isn't really an INFJ, or that they are, a toxic individual pretending to be INFJ, here's some things you need to be careful, be aware of. If these people, are very vicious and they seem to really lack empathy, they don't really care about how people feel when they make comments. They just blast people for the fun of it, just because it makes them, feel good. They get a kick out of being a horse's hind end. Chances are that individual's probably not an INFJ, because that we INFJs like harmony. We like things to run smoothly. We don't like to upset the apple cart unless we're absolutely pushed into that moment that we have to stand up and say something. Well, I feel like right now I've been pushed into that moment where I feel like it's time for me to stand up and say something. And it's time for me to say, hey, wait a minute. Not all of you people out here that are claiming the title INFJ are actually INFJ. Many of you are involving yourselves in some very toxic behavior. So if somebody is lacking empathy in the way they talk, the way they communicate, the way they address comments or whatever online, you may want to step back and scratch your head and say, are these people really INFJs? And I'm not talking about, like I said, I'm talking about if they're doing this for no particular purpose, just to rouse your emotions, just to get you upset for no reason. I mean, they have no reason, no cause to be toxic like this. So, they may call themselves INFJ, but I scratch my head and wonder, One of the other things that I've noticed online with some people is their communication style. Are the things that they say coherent? Are they speaking coherently? There's a lot. Now I realize we INFJs, and that, myself included, we have a hard time sometimes getting thoughts out of our head through our mouth because it takes a little while for us to process. There's so much information going on in our head. It's hard to process it all and get it to flow out of our mouth coherently or on a timely fashion. We usually are very coherent. We just don't get it out in a timely fashion. I say a lot because I'm trying to think, how do I need to phrase this? What do I need to say next? But we will say things rationally and coherently. There's a lot of people I've noticed here lately. There's people online that are using a lot of word salad. I mean, if you listen to them very long, you scratch your head and you go, what were they really trying to say here? They might ask a question and then go all the way around the world talking about who knows what and never answer the question. They leave you hanging in the air about what they just were talking about, or they'll skip from this subject to that subject to some other subject, and none of it ties together. None of it makes any sense. It's not coherent. It's called word salad, okay? This is a very common practice of narcissistic people. They love to throw out words on a canvas, just throw like throwing mud at the wall and hoping that you can make sense out of whatever's splattered up against it. And if you see or hear people with that kind of communication style, please be careful. That's not normal. And INFJs are very good communicators, even though we may have to take a little time to process it and get it out of our mouth. And we may say some uhs and we may hesitate and pause occasionally. Even at that, we will communicate effectively and coherently most of the time. And especially if we're writing, if you see somebody write something and you read it and you have to reread it and reread it because you think, what are they saying? That doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, they might be toxic. They may be a wolf in INFJ clothing. So be careful. Be careful. I'm going to throw this out there, and this is for those of you maybe that go on these forums. If you check out an individual's Facebook page, and I've noticed this, and if you go, and I realize we all have a few selfies in our cell phones, and there's nothing wrong with that. I carry a few because I need some for these videos, and I need a few for other things. But if you go to somebody's phone, go to somebody's Facebook, and all you see is selfie after selfie after selfie after selfie after selfie. You see 100 selfies, and they don't take. There's not one picture in there that's got anything to do with anything but self, me, myself, and I. You might want to, say, what about this? That's not really an INFJ trait. We really don't like putting ourself out there and recognizing self as some big to-do, So if you see, if you happen to be curious about somebody's Facebook and you go there and it's self, one selfie behind another. Now, like I said, we all have some selfies, and I'm not saying, a few selfies or a selfie is bad. I'm just saying be careful if you see that that's all this individual's into, is the latest, greatest selfie. They might call themselves INFJ, but I really scratch my head on that, so be careful. That's all I'm saying. Be careful, And usually those things will be in conjunction with other issues that they have. It's not just the selfies. It'll be selfies and word salad, or it'll be selfies and, rude, mean, harsh comments, attacking comments. So I'm just throwing that out there to just, beware, be cautious, be careful. And if there's some other things that you can think of, and these are just 3 things that have come off the top of my head, and I really haven't thought about a lot of this. Somebody asked me earlier if I would do a video on this, and I said, well, I'm going to try. I'll try to do that. If you can think of anything off the top of your head that would add to this discussion, please write it in the comments. If you can think of another area where these people, are toxic and they're trying to pretend to be INFJ, leave a comment because I want to hear what your thoughts are on it. Maybe you've experienced something like this. I know people who have got involved in romantic relationships, even married people under the false pretense that they were marrying or getting involved with an INFJ, and come to find out they weren't INFJ at all. They were something totally different. They were narcissists. They were ENTPs. They were something way off, you know. So be careful. I'm telling you, be careful. Watch the patterns. Watch their style of language. Another thing, if they can communicate with you with flawless ease, you know, I mean, many of you listen to my videos and you realize I stutter and stammer and whatnot. And many INFJs do. I'm not saying all of you do, but most of us have a harder time trying to get things out of our mouth. If you come across somebody that claims to be INFJ and they can just rattle the thoughts and words off flawlessly, just blah, 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 and never pause to even take a breath, and they don't ever let you get in a word edgewise, it's the conversation's always them. They're the ones doing all the talking, and you do all the listening. It's not INFJ. We're excellent listeners. We love to listen to people. We want to empathize with people. We want to care about people. We want to give them time to speak. And a healthy conversation with anyone, especially if it's another INFJ, you're going to give and take. Each person is going to contribute to that conversation. Somebody's going to speak, somebody's going to listen, and then you're going to get your chance to speak, and they'll listen. And we will be back and forth, speaking and listening to one another in a very polite, decent manner. So if you see somebody hogging the conversation, that's another red flag. You know, they may not be INFJ. These are just some heads up, things I just felt like sharing with you, things that might help you to be more cautious. Please be safe out there. That's all I could say. And I wish you all a wonderful and blessed and happy day. God bless everyone.